Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of the Gaming Arena Podcast. Saludos y bienvenidos a un episodio diferente de the Gaming Arena Podcast. My name is Javier Jose, along with Wilfredo, and together we're going to do a very different episode like I mentioned before. Why? Because it's going to be in Spanglish. Saludos, mi nombre es Javier José junto a Will y vamos a hacer un episodio totalmente distinto. ¿Por qué? Porque vamos a hablar en español e inglés. Ahora, ¿cuál es la razón de esto? Se la vamos a dejar ya mismo. But before we start, I would like to remind you to please subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. Also, remember to click on the bell to turn on the notifications. By doing this, you will know when we do live streams and episodes. Pero antes de comenzar, quiero recordarles que se suscriban al canal y nos den un me gusta. Además, activen la campanita para recibir notificaciones cuando salen episodios nuevos y cuando estaremos en vivo. Wilfredo, bienvenidos a otro capítulo más. ¿Cómo estamos?
Bien, bien. Gracias por el tremendo intro bilingüe.
¿Viste?
Muy bien. Thank you so much for doing a very good job in the bilingual intro there, Javier. So we're very excited. We're very excited about this episode. I've been thinking about this episode forever now.
Bueno, pues como les dije que teníamos un episodio distinto es porque tenemos un invitado especial. When I said that this episode is going to be different, it's because we have a special guest. Pero sin tardarnos más, desde the Nerf Report, démosle la bienvenida a Bryant Chappel. Without no further ado, from the Nerf Report, let's give it a warm welcome to Bryant Chappel. How's it going, man?
Hola. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
There you go. The whole episode in Spanish. No. We're not going to be that cool.
There you go. Already coming in, dropping in hot. I appreciate you guys having me. You know, like we talked about previously, I speak. Yo estudio español. I'm trying to learn it. I'm using Duolingo. I think it's so important to try to be bilingual, and I will try my best tonight. But
we'll help you out.
I might need some help. Mucho gusto.
It's funny because we actually might need to translate all your answers. So we're gonna give it,
which is fine. But I just wanted to thank you for taking the time tonight. We really appreciate you being here with us because I know it took a lot of different tinkering and checking schedules and all that because busy lives. We totally get that. But thank you so much for taking the time for us today.
No, thank you guys for having me. I partially feel responsible for the scheduling issues because, I think I messaged you maybe 3 times to change, but I'm glad we finally got on here to kind of talk, and I'm looking forward to it. I love coming on podcasts like this and talking about not just cloud gaming, but gaming in general. And I think it's so important to kind of spread audiences because when I come on here, my audience will check it out. Your audience will come over. And I think that that's how we all grow together. And I think that that's a really important thing for creators to remember at times.
We appreciate that. Y él dice que es bueno que estemos colaborando. Tengamos aquí que viene a este programa y que nos ayudamos. Su público nos conoce a nosotros conocemos a su público y es bueno que hagamos este tipo de cosas porque a veces los creadores de contenido se les olvida ese detalle.
I couldn't have said it any better.
There you go.
I used to do that a lot because I worked at a company that my boss was from Pennsylvania and she had no Spanish at all. And we were in San Juan, so imagine that. So I had to do that.
Now
I have a lot of practice.
So now that you said that, Will, you're going to be our official translator for the.
Got it. Don't worry about it.
All right. I will try. I will do my best, but let's see.
But now that you brought that up, that you said you were all about gaming, how did it all start? ¿Cómo todo empezó?
The show, my life,
gaming.
Gaming. First experience with gaming was probably, I was actually thinking about this the other day, Super Nintendo Ninja Turtles.
There you go.
Yeah, that's kind of the first game, the earliest game that I can remember. My parents talk about they bought the Super Nintendo so they could play like Super Mario. I don't remember playing Super Mario. I remember the first game I fell in love with was Star Fox 64.
Wow.
I still think that game holds up, and it's a shame Nintendo hasn't done anything more with that franchise. And then the other earliest game I can remember playing is there was this stupid PC game called Chex. There was a cereal here in the United States called Chex.
Yeah.
And they one of the promotions was they sent out a CD that you put in your computer, and it was like Chex meets Doom. And it was the most bizarre game in the world. And they actually like remastered it this year. And I remember playing it. Yeah. I mean, it's not a good game. It's not a good game at all. But I remember my friend being like, "You like Chex the cereal?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
So are you shooting Chex? Is that what you're shooting? Because
if I remember correctly, yeah. I mean, your character on the box is like this souped up Earthworm Jim kind of looking dude.
Okay. And
his
throwing
head
out cereals.
Chex. Like it's just a square Chex, and it's super bizarre.
So I'm going to do the clip notes of his answer in Spanish. So, empezó con Super Nintendo. Sus papás compraron Super Nintendo para jugar Mario, pero él jugó mucho Firefox 64, ¿verdad?
Star Fox 64.
64. Y jugó un juego del cereal que se llama Chex, con una mezcla con Doom, y disparabas cereal en el juego, y le hicieron un remaster para este año.
Algo muy extraño.
Algo muy extraño.
So, hold on. I don't know if you guys can. That's kind of a terrible, but that was the box art.
That's pretty interesting, actually. Now I'm gonna look for it. I have a gaming PC, so I might run it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, ¿cuánto tiempo llevas siendo un gamer? How long have you been a gamer? And what motivates you to create the Nerf Report? O sea, ¿qué te motivó a hacer el Nerf Report?
I've a gamer. I've probably been I got to say almost my whole life, because I think I was 2 or 3 when the Super Nintendo came out. The Nerf Report was created because I felt that there was a void in gaming media. At the time when we started it, and still right now, there were some things that bothered me when it came to how we report about video games, because at the end of the day, we're talking about things that are designed to bring joy. Right. You're supposed to enjoy video games, not go through and say, well, this didn't have enough pixels, or this wasn't 4K. And while some developers, I think, are out for just money, I think that some of the press that developers or video games get tends to be negative. And it's like, why are we being so negative about something that's innately bringing people joy? So it was kind of brought to bring a voice to gaming media that I felt was missing. I jokingly say the last thing gaming media needed was like a bearded white guy talking about it, because there's enough bearded white men talking about video games. But what I kind of wanted to do was say, okay, I work full time. I don't have time to read the news every single day. I had to stay up to date. So I wanted to create a show that was like, we're going to take all the gaming news and put it into one show. And just like a developer or a video game designer would nerf a weapon or a character in a game because it became too powerful, we're going to nerf all the news and put it into one show. And that's kind of where it started. And 4 years later, I am now the guy that reads the news every single day. So it's kind of become I've
all
kind
the way
of become
around
what I hated in the beginning.
I just want to mention real quick, because I remember watching an episode that you did that it was the most sarcastic episode I've seen in YouTube. And it was him saying, hey, I'm here. I'm the guy that plays Stadia. Like, I'm the like, he was the only guy. I remember that. He said, yeah, you guys talk about the guy that plays Stadia. That's me. That's here I am.
There's 3 of us. We meet up every Sunday for lunch. It's fantastic.
You just made me feel old when you said that when you started with Super Nintendo. You know which console I started with?
Which one?
Coleco.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah.
And the reason I started with that is because my sister had it. It's not because I had it.
Okay.
My first own console was the Atari. So my first actual game that I played a lot was Mission Command.
Wow.
we're a little bit older than you.
Yeah, just a little. I mean, I'm not gonna not to further date all of us, but I mean, the first console I bought with my own money was the PlayStation 3. That was the first one I went out and bought. And then it's just kind of gone downhill from there. It's become a very bad addiction.
I was in college for PS2, so that's the first one I bought. And I bought it in with a summer job I had with Javier actually.
We used to work in a camp.
Oh, nice.
For our old high school, they had a summer camp, and he was the one that brought me to that job. And that job actually yielded also my wife. So It was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's small world. Wow.
No, the best part of it is when we started working on that summer camp. Will's position was actually the counselor for video games.
I remember the owner of the camp just gave us money and said, "Make it children appropriate." Okay, and that's what she said. And I bought like 3 N64s. I bought 2 PlayStation 1s.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So now it's time to translate all that we said, Will. I'm just kidding. Let's continue. Because we knew that we will never end this.
We'll put subtitles. Just have subtitles going on the video.
If I knew how to do it in Spanish, I would have done it a long time ago. I know how to put them in English, but not in Spanish. But, well, basically what you said in Spanish, I'm going to say, él ha jugado toda su vida. Tenía como 2 o 3 años cuando salió el Super Nintendo. Y empezó el show porque creía que había un vacío en los medios de videojuegos. Los juegos son para disfrutárselos, para pasarla bien, no para tomarlo tan en serio como que este juego no tenía suficientes píxeles. Y que hay que ver el disfrute, no solamente el hacer dinero con los videojuegos. I think I summarized it pretty good.
Yeah. If I wake up and I have a bunch of people hating me in the morning, I know.
Why you said that? No, it's pretty accurate.
You're good. I trust you guys.
In Austin, plenty of people can hear that Spanish version and tell you.
Very true. Yeah.
All right. So, like you said on the Nerf Report, you give news of every type of game. But now, which one is your favorite?
Oh, okay.
I've been noticing lately that you've been playing a lot of Hello Neighbor.
Yeah. That was that's a game that has always intrigued me, and I've never beaten it. I always start it, and my ADD kicks in.
I don't understand it. To be honest,
I watched a YouTuber play it, and he's like, I can beat it in 20 minutes, and I was like, okay, let me watch this. And there's a strategy you're supposed to do, but there's a learning curve to it, like everything. But my favorite game would probably be The Last of Us. Like, that's a game that I always go back to, and I always feel like such a fake gamer, because that's what everybody says, oh, my favorite game is The Last of Us. But right now, I'm playing a lot of Call of Duty Warzone as well on the PlayStation. Wow. So that's something that I don't advertise very much, but my buddies, we play that together. And then, when it comes to Stadia and cloud gaming, I just beat Resident Evil. That was a fun game. But favorite game, I would have to say I'm sorry, Uncharted 4. That's my favorite game. That's probably my favorite game of all time.
There you go. I love the Uncharted series myself.
Yeah.
I have not finished 4 for just being lazy. But I did 1, 2, and 3. I finished all of them.
Yeah.
But just 4 is just me not wanting to turn on my jet engine, which is my PlayStation 4. It's horrible, man.
That's been an ongoing joke on the Nerf Report. We always brought a leaf blower onto the set, and we would put the beep on, and then somebody turn off the PlayStation, and it would just be roaring in the background.
And I bought a Pro thinking, oh, that's going to be better than the base one, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's worse.
Well, and what's funny is with the PlayStation 5, everybody's like, this is what I want from it. This is what I want from it. And my whole thing was I just want it to be quiet. If that's all they did with the PlayStation 5, kudos to you, man. Like, you did a good job.
Because, dude, the Xbox Series, the Xbox One X, it was silent. You could I could barely hear that fan move. And I have the Series S. I don't hear that thing at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't hear anything on that, which is great because it's in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like deafening that I can't hear my game, in the headset and that type of thing. Yeah, I completely agree. So on side note, how's your experience with the PS5? Do you love that console, or?
I love the controller. Like, that's been a big takeaway. Like, I know people don't like the adaptive triggers and everything, but I'm definitely a big fan of like Call of Duty adaptive triggers. Like, I think that's just a game changer. Because when you pull, like, the best way I explained it recently was like when you played Rainbow Six for the first time, like that was the first game that the guns felt unique when you were playing the controller. Like, no other shooter felt that way. And Call of Duty on PlayStation 5, no other shooter feels that way. Like, just the triggers are fantastic. Other than that, I don't really notice much. Like, it's a console there that runs my games. Like, I don't have any gripes against it, not running or anything like that. It's just it does the job. Like, so
you're not into the console wars, are you?
No, not at all. I am the least console centric. I don't have a side. I don't. I play everywhere. I think if I were to pick one that I didn't play a lot on, it'd probably be Xbox. Like, that's the one that I don't get on very regularly.
Got it.
That's gonna be a difficult one for you now, Will.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to trust me. It was a great answer. It's tough to do it in dual language. So
muy bien.
Perdóname si no traduzco todo, pero es que es un poquito difícil. Pero básicamente le hicimos la pregunta de que él cubre todos los videojuegos, pero ¿cuáles son los juegos que más a él le interesan? Habló de The Last of Us, un juego de Sony. Uncharted 4 lo puso como su mejor juego, como el juego que más le gustó, que más le interesa, que también es un exclusivo de Sony. Y habló también de que está jugando más Call of Duty Warzone, y que yo le hice una pregunta del PlayStation 5, le gusta mucho el PlayStation 5, le gusta más el control, es lo más que le gusta, que el control tiene lo que se llama los adaptive triggers, no translation on that one, y son los botones de la parte de atrás del control que se adaptan al juego que está jugando. Eso es una tecnología que sacó nueva Sony con el PlayStation 5.
Y que no suena como un abanico.
Opportunity to try it. Because I have not, I'm never going to camp. I'm not going to die in the computer trying to buy one. Like, I'm going to wait until I can just go to the store and pick one up. So probably in 2025, I'll have a PlayStation 5. So,
like what you're talking about with the retail thing, like, that's been such a unique conversation, because when the PS4 came out and the Xbox One came out, like, Target had it. Like, you could go into a Target and you could try it out. And that's been kind of one of the interesting things on the cloud gaming side. Like, when services like Amazon Luna and Google Stadia launched, retail was going through COVID-19. So they're like, we're not putting any displays that people can touch. And that's one of those things that I think is going to be extremely interesting. And it's something I would love to get an answer on eventually, is like, how do you effectively go to market when you can't get your end product in your consumers' hands? Like, there's so many times that when you're on a cloud gaming platform that you play it and it just clicks and you're like, oh my God, there's no console, right? But that retail experience, I think, is such an interesting one, where it's like services like Luna and Stadia really have to be able to have those clickable moments where they're like, wow, there's no console here. But it's like, how do you do that when retail's just, struggling to stay alive? It's interesting.
Yeah. And that's a question, because we've noticed that one of the platforms you've said in the past that is your favorite platform to play on is Google Stadia. Why is that? Why did you pick Google Stadia? And before you answer, let me say it in Spanish real quick. Has dicho en tu contenido que Google Stadia para ti es un sistema que el más acude. ¿Por qué? Why? Why is it that Google Stadia that go-to console for you?
So I went into Stadia extremely skeptic, because historically speaking, I played on PlayStation growing up. So, it was the idea of not having to pack my PlayStation 5 when I'm traveling. All I need is a controller and a screen and I can play. So when it arrived and I was able to play Destiny 2 at the same quality as PlayStation, and it was literally running on a Chromecast, that blew my mind. Like, I was like, okay, what's going here? And then it was kind of like a rabbit hole. I just continued to go down and was like, well, if this is possible, then this has to be possible, and then this has to be possible. It seems like every single week there's a new reason that I enjoy it. Like the zero load times. Like you buy a game on the store and you're in instantly. We've I think had the conversation off stream. I've got a kid on the way, and all my friends who have kids, they tell me how valuable your time is when you now have kids. Yeah. Like, man, it becomes, you don't have time to sit down and wait for a game to install an update or install a patch, and Stadia not having that's huge for me. The other one that's a big takeaway is, like, my first week of owning a PlayStation 5, I maxed out that hard drive installing the games that I wanted to play. Whereas on Google Stadia, in a week, first week. I mean, half of the hard drive goes to Call of Duty.
Right, because that's a huge game. Yeah.
And with Google Stadia, I think I'm at like 110 games on the platform or something, and it's like they're all sitting there. I can jump into them instantly. I can play them, and
that's because I have a lot of Xbox games, and it really bothers me. I haven't played that in a while. Let me go in the update. I gotta wait 20, 30 minutes to get into the game. I just, there's been time I told Javier, well, I wanted to play this tonight, but then I said, no, I'm good. Like, I went to Stadia. Like, it is what it is. But yeah, so you're kind of citing the same reasons why
we do use
Stadia. I love it.
Yeah.
Because
I also, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I also think that it's the future, right? Like, that word gets thrown around a lot. Like, we were talking about that poster in the background, like the future is in the cloud. And there's so many people who are just like, cloud gaming will never work because you got data caps, you've got this, and it's like technology is always progressing. When Netflix launched in America, they were shipping out DVDs home to home. Like, and even when they went digital, there were people who were like, this will never work. And it's like, now it's how everybody watches movies. And video games.
What was the last time you rented a movie? It's like,
like, even though they have though they have those red boxes at the stores, I don't know the last time I used it. Like, it's crazy.
I don't know how they're still standing up over there.
There's still people maybe, that don't have that type of, mentality in terms of, I'm going to stream everything, or don't want to pay a monthly service because they watch this amount of TV and they just want to grab a DVD. So I don't think they're going to go completely away. But then again, I thought about music, and I haven't seen a CD being sold anywhere because the last thing was Best Buy, I think, had some.
Yeah.
But
and music has kind of gone on this interesting path where it's like they've gone digital, but records are starting to come back.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, people want to buy records. So it's like, it's going to be interesting to see if video games go that way, where, like, there's that company that does the limited run, and games that don't get physical releases, they do limited run releases on them.
There's a company based in Austin that is, I think it's called Mundo.
Oh yeah, Mondo. Yeah.
They do those limited runs on movies and posters.
Right there.
That's a Mondo
poster. That's a Mondo poster. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I used to work right next door.
Oh yeah.
See, that's the problem of living in Connecticut. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Mondo sells, I think, nationwide. And they do like limited runs of different collector's items. That's basically what it is. Yeah. And they do like from really old movies and I think I saw video game stuff once.
Yeah, they do. They do a little bit of everything. And I think you'll have companies like that once everything goes fully digital. Because to your point, I mean, in the United States, we're one of the very few countries that have data caps. Like, that's a very American thing. And once those go away, I mean, this is just going to flood through, and hopefully it happens sooner or later. But I'm interested to see how it progresses.
Now, talking about that, how it progresses.
Yeah.
Where do you feel, where do you think this is going? Are you worried? Are you excited? Where do you think Stadia is moving along to?
I am 100% excited. I was never in the camp that Stadia was going to shut down following the closure of Stadia Games and Entertainment. That was kind of the big hit for the community. Like half the community was like, well, this is it. We got to go to GeForce Now, or we got to go to Xbox. I've always been in the camp that I think that makes Stadia a little more nimble, because instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars on internal studios that might put out a C quality game, you can now work with people in the industry like Ubisoft or Capcom or like that, and ensure that those games come on the platform. Right. I think the future of gaming, to your point, is in a lot of ways the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X with COVID kind of exacerbated it. People are just getting fed up with consoles. Like, no one's going to want a console in a couple of years. And I think that what it's going to be like is everybody's going to pull out their phone and they'll have an Xbox app. They'll have a PlayStation app. They'll have a Google Stadia app, just like we have Netflix, Vudu, Hulu, Shudder, ESPN+, all the streaming services.
Yeah. Which is still to the point of, there's an app for that. Type of mentality.
Well, and there's people who think and I think it's a valid point that Stadia is kind of in a unique place because they're not creating their own content. And what's stopping Activision from creating their own cloud app and Ubisoft creating their own cloud app? And all of that's extremely possible. But I think then in that sense, you also have maybe like a bundling situation that you see Stadia offers a bundle that gives you the Activision app, just like Disney has Hulu and ESPN all within, their bundles. So I think that there's some really unique marketplace there. And I think that the interesting thing that I think people are starting to realize is that one streaming model doesn't solve all the problems. Like, I see people who are like, Xbox Game Pass is the greatest streaming library ever. And it's like, yeah, up until a game leaves the library, because then you don't have access to it.
You saw our previous episode, because that was the whole fight with me and Hugo was, and we're missing Hugo today. Sorry, man. We miss you, man. But we were fighting, like, but they take your game away. If that's a game you invested X amount of hours now, and you don't have an Xbox, you can't just buy it and then play it in the cloud. That doesn't work like that.
No, but according to Google, buy the console. That's what he was keep saying it to us. And I go, but I don't have the money to buy a freaking console.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons how you got into big Google Stadia, because the amount of money that you have to go into Stadia is very limited, and very small amount. Where he wanted to go into Xbox, he needed to spend at least $300 right off the bat.
Well, let's get real. My last console was an Xbox One. That was my last console.
No, 360.
Exactly. Sorry, 360. And then this pandemic came in, and Will told me, "Oh, I got a new game console, which you don't have to pay that much money." And I go like, what is it?
Like, what?
What the hell is it? So he sent me an invitation for 3 months to play Stadia. And I go like, okay, but how do I play this? So I went to a Target and got the cheapest controller I could find over there for $15. I plug it into my computer, and I was playing with Will.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we were like playing in 15 minutes. Like, it was done. Like,
you see, that's the type of stuff that I think that, if you've been following Google Stadia since the beginning, there's definitely been a change in the last couple of weeks when it comes to like social media and what the teams are doing. But that's the type of story that I feel like they really need to focus on and broadcast, because for every person like you, there's 100 people like you out there who are like, man, I really want to play these next gen games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Resident Evil Village, but they're not aware if you have a Chrome browser, you can play those games. And oftentimes you don't need a good internet connection. Like, we talked about it a little briefly, but like, we took the show to Hawaii where Stadia is not even supported. And in places where I had a 10 megabit connection, I was streaming video games to my cell phone. Like that's
crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned the Hawaii video, how was your experience with that? What made you consider doing this? O sea, hiciste este contenido en Hawaii. ¿Cómo fue eso? ¿Que estás considerando hacer otro tal vez en Puerto Rico? Are you trying to do like another one, maybe Puerto Rico or Latin America?
I would love to. I would love to. You know, the Hawaii one was kind of it worked out in my favor. Like my wife and I were expecting our first kids, so we're going on a baby moon. And you know, we were like, where do we want to go? And you know, we've been to Hawaii in the past. We both love that state. It's extremely beautiful. And you know, I was like, I wonder if I could run Stadia there. So I asked Google Stadia, and they're like, nope, it's not supported. And I was like, well, I've never been to an unsupported market, and there's really not a YouTuber out there who's effectively shown Stadia in an unsupported market. Because for me, I'm in an internet mecca where it runs perfectly. So let's go to a place where it doesn't run perfectly so I can talk about it a little better. And to my surprise, when we got there, like it worked just almost, I can't say just as well, but it worked well enough that like, hey man, if I'm hanging out in my hotel room after we just went swimming and we're waiting for dinner, hey, this is acceptable enough for me to play, you know, Rainbow Six Siege or Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Hello Neighbor, which is, I think, what I showcased in the majority of that video.
Well, before the pandemic, I was in the road a lot, and I always had this bad experiences with hotel Wi-Fi. And I know you showed that TP-Link little device. If I go back on the road someday, that's one of the things I'm going to buy.
Well, and I got to credit my audience for that, because I did a video trying to get Stadia to work on a hotel Wi-Fi, and trying to get the Chromecast to connect to the hotel Wi-Fi was the biggest pain in the butt, and I couldn't get it to happen. And then somebody in the comment section was like, just use this. And then so I bought that, and then on my next trip, I was like, oh my God, it works. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, it was a pain for me. That's why I got the control and everything, never got to use it.
I think you need to translate this one, Will, because we do have a couple of people who are complaining that they're living out in America and they don't have Stadia over there.
Go ahead. No, le hicimos la pregunta de ¿verdad? Que hizo contenido en Hawái y que pudo conectarse, aunque ese mercado no está oficialmente aceptado por Stadia. No,
él le escribió literalmente a Stadia y ellos le dijeron de que supuestamente no estaba dispuesto,
disponible. Reconocido, disponible. Y le funcionó muy bien, lo pudo usar en el hotel, lo pudo usar hasta con una conexión de 10 megabytes en su celular, y pudo jugar los juegos en un mercado que para Stadia no existe, como quien dice. So, we did the clip notes, Bryant, but basically,
that's the way we have to do it. Because
I completely understand.
Now, I want you to put your I'm going to say the black bowl or the glass bowl that you can see the future, right? If you could tell me, how do you feel, or how big or how successful do you think Stadia can be in the future?
That's a really tough question. I mean, I don't. Wow, you stumped me on that one, because I mean, I could easily come out and be like, they're going to be as big as PlayStation, or they're going to be as big as Xbox, but it really comes down, in my opinion, to these next 12 months. I think that the next 12 months for Stadia are so important, because they've had
Harrison is hearing you, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he listens to me, unfortunately. The next 12 months are extremely important, from the sense that, like, 2021 has been a very solid year for Google Stadia. From a press perspective, they've had way more wins than they've had losses. And I think, and this is something I say all the time, is it comes down to controlling the narrative. Like, if Stadia can control the narrative and kind of be their own press in a way, they'll be fine. And I think it comes down to, like, what we were saying is, like, hey man, you need to really broadcast these wins. Like, you know, if so-and-so's got it working with a controller, like, showcase that, because people want to see that, hey, this thing that I thought was unachievable is working for this person that's halfway across the country that kind of has a similar setup as me. But if they're able to do that, I think that Stadia can be a effective Me Too platform. And I think that they could survive. I don't think Stadia needs to be the size of PlayStation to stay around. I don't think that they need to be the size of Nintendo or Xbox. I think that there's a good kind of middle space for these guys. And I think that if you look at the casual gamer market, especially with mobile players, Stadia could effectively surpass PlayStation and Xbox just on the mobile side, if they wanted to. And I think that you're kind of talking about different markets in a way, because we're talking about console sales on one end, and then we're talking about just the ability to access it on the other. So I know I'm kind of running around in a circle here, but I think that Stadia has the potential to be like a medium to large size company. I don't know in their current state if they could surpass PlayStation. And the only reason I say that is because PlayStation has 25 years or something like that of history, or 30 years of history at this point. And that's 30 years of industry and 30 years of building video games like Uncharted and Last of Us and all of these hits. But that being said, if you look at what's happening in the gaming market, PlayStation is the one that's super slow to embrace cloud. So Xbox, Stadia, Luna, one of these cloud gaming platforms could start to edge in and take some of that market share and kind of be that replacement. But the other side of it as well, you have Facebook, you have Walmart, you have Netflix, you have all of these other big tech companies that are working on cloud gaming platforms. Even Verizon, the cell phone manufacturer, is working on a cloud gaming platform. So it's like the big three that we have today of Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation could potentially not be there in 8 to 5 years. Like, we could have Stadia, Xbox, Nintendo, or who knows, maybe Amazon buys Nintendo or something of that sense that happens. But
when are you gonna buy the KFC console and use that?
yeah.
Everybody's getting into gaming, even the fried chicken king. But you mentioned something that I want to piggyback on it. You said that 2020 was the big. 2021 has been good for them as well in terms of Stadia. The more wins than losses, like you said. What do you think is the biggest win for Stadia at this point?
I think the biggest win at this point was. I guess let me give you a personal one, and then I will give you a industry one.
Okay.
The industry one, I think the biggest win is the Android TV update that just came through. I think that was a huge win for Stadia because, number one, it got rid of the stupid narrative that Google hasn't even added Stadia to their own Chromecast. Like, that was just a glaring issue that should have been addressed originally. But the idea that any Android TV device can now stream Stadia, like, that's bonkers.
Supported and officially, right? No sideloading stuff or anything like that.
So, like, and that's kind of the dream of cloud gaming for me, is that, like, you look at somebody going to the store, picking up TV, plugging it in, and then, like, hey, you want to play Doom Eternal? Or, hey, you want to play Resident Evil Village? And, like, that ad is right there. And it's like, cool, man. Like, you click it and they're like, hey, hook up your Xbox or hook up your PlayStation controller, sync it via Bluetooth to your TV, and you can play. Like, that's the future of gaming. Like, that's sick. So I think that industry-wise, that was a big win. Personal win for me would probably come down to Resident Evil Village arriving on Stadia. Like, I think that was such a big win for them because it was the first major game since Cyberpunk to kind of launch day and date. And then they also had that promotion where they offered the free Chromecast and controller if you bought it. For me, I think it made quite an argument to say, like, hey, pick it up on Stadia and you get a free next gen console, essentially. Like, that was a win for me. And this is something we kind of talked behind the scenes with like Stadia Source and all of us kind of in the Stadia community, but it was also an interesting thing for me because Stadia was really trying to repeat lightning striking. When Cyberpunk came to Stadia, they really benefited from the fact that the developers screwed up on PlayStation and Xbox, and they were offering a free controller.
I thought you were going to pick that as a big win.
Yeah, well, no, yeah. And Phil Harrison himself said, like, the reason we closed Stadia Games and Entertainment is because of all the exclusive games we launched. We never got the traction that we got when Cyberpunk launched. And you could tell that they were really hoping that Capcom dropped the ball with Resident Evil on PlayStation and Xbox because, like, you know, they were giving out free consoles. They were trying to do the exact thing over again. And I'd love to know the numbers to see, you know, what if that moved the needle at all for the company at all.
Well, I don't know if you saw the number for, and I mentioned this on the show before, but 50,000 downloads in the first 2 weeks of the Google TV app.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was huge. I thought that was a pretty good number for something so new. And I'm guessing, you know, good part of those was all the fans that were waiting for it to drop. Like I don't have a CCU anymore hooked in my house. I have my Google TVs and that's it, you know, and I enjoy it and it plays very well. You know, my friends like Javier have not noticed that I'm just in that Chromecast at all. So when we play together, so that's a pretty good win.
Yeah, for sure.
Estábamos hablando de Stadia, de cómo el logro mejor de Stadia. Tiene dos logros. El logro más grande para él a nivel de la industria fue que sacaran Stadia como un app en el Google TV, que eso era algo que había que hacerlo hace tiempo. Y personalmente que Resident Evil Village llegara a la plataforma e hicieran la promoción otra vez de dar el Stadia Premier Edition gratis con la compra del juego. Eso ha movido el gusto de Stadia y que a las personas les interesa más Stadia y ha sido un buen movimiento hacia Stadia mejorar, right?
Ahora me voy a ir un poquito de libreto. I'm going to go off a little out of the script and I'm going to ask you, with all the announcement that Xbox did the last couple of weeks ago, do you think Stadia should be scared? Después de todos los anuncios que mencionó Xbox, ¿tú crees que Stadia debe estar asustado?
Yeah and no. I mean, I think Xbox is doing what Xbox has always done. They've kind of been a disruptor and that's kind of what Microsoft is kind of known for. Like they're just a company that goes out and disrupts marketplaces. The Stadia versus Xbox argument, I think, comes down to how people are going to consume video games in 5 to 6 years. Xbox clearly has the narrative that a subscription service is going to be the way to go. And I can see that argument because Netflix has such fantastic success. But there's also the argument that for every Netflix, there's also a Vudu account or there's an Amazon Prime account where people want to go buy a movie or they want to rent a movie. And I think that that's where you're going to have secondary platforms like a Luna or Stadia. I mean, xCloud and Game Pass could easily be the #1 cloud gaming platform out there, but I still think that there's room for a secondary one. And I kind of hint on renting with movies. That's something we haven't even talked about in gaming because I know we've seen people in Stadia talk about the idea of renting games or turning cloud gaming into an arcade where you go in and you say, I'm going to drop $5 and I'm going to play for the next 3 hours or 4 hours unlimited gameplay. That's something that intrigues me as well, to say like, hey man, some random game on Stadia just dropped today and I don't want to drop $59 on it, but I do want to try it out. Let me rent it for $2.99 and get 30 minutes or something like that. That's a cool concept for me. So I don't think Stadia should be too terrified. I don't think Stadia should be complacent. I think that they should continue to innovate and keep bringing things to the platform. If they stay how they are today, Xbox is going to just dominate the industry. But I do think Stadia needs to continue to innovate on that end.
And yeah, we said that a lot in this show about, Stadia can feel the, breathing down their neck, Xbox, because the experience for us for Xbox, I don't know if you tried the cloud, Xbox Cloud.
Briefly, yeah.
Briefly, okay. For us, it was pretty bad. Like we
At the
could not,
beginning.
latency was horrible and stuff like that. And we always compare it technically in terms of the technical part of this. Stadia has leaps and bounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But seeing the 20 years they've been in the industry, the leading in terms of how many games they have and that catalog and how easily they can bring it into the cloud because of their architecture of Azure being all around the world, that's a pretty compelling point to their favor, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting and waiting and see how they're going to react. And like you said, the next 12 months are extremely important for Stadia.
Yeah, and I think that one of I keep going to look at like the streaming industry on video and trying to compare it to the gaming industry, because that's really the only closest comparison we have for what's going on. And you look at Netflix, and Netflix for years was king because they had everything. And then once they had a proof of concept, all of these production houses and all these studios were like, hey, why are we letting Netflix dictate what the price is? Why don't we take our content and go create our own platforms, which is what happened with Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and HBO Now and all these other different services. And so, yes, Netflix still has House of Cards and Stranger Things and all of these great exclusives, but you look at how fast Disney Plus grew without Netflix once they took all of their catalogs and said, we're just going to create our own platform. To me, that's going to be the interesting part of cloud gaming, is who will be the Disney Plus, on the Xbox Game Pass side? Like, will we see a studio just be like, yeah, we're not going to bring our games here anymore. We're not going to have this anymore. We're going to go start our own. That's kind of the part that interests me.
It's funny that you mention the renting part, because I think that's the scalability of that is tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we remember the Blockbuster days, right? How many cartridges they had of one particular game, and it was limited to what you can get physically, right?
Yeah.
And it was it like $5 for the whole weekend or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how much it cost.
Yeah, it was like for 3 days you have to pay $5, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So imagine having 300, 400, 1,000 instances of $5 a pop for a whole weekend.
Yeah.
That's a lot of income coming in, and that person doesn't even own the game.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And they can cut the access, they can give you access. I always thought about it in terms of the demos. Like, I'm from the back in the day that you would buy a magazine and it would have the little demo disc on it. And you can,
and the only reason you bought the magazine is to get the demo disc.
Right. And you can try stuff out without really buying the $59.99 type of thing. And I think that's also a prime area that they did it with this Ubisoft game, Immortals Phoenix Rising. They did it. And I think that was one of the things that a lot of people bought that game just because they enjoyed the demo.
Yeah. I think that stuff like that is going to be key, because you have to keep, like I say, control the narrative. Like you have to give people a reason to try Stadia out. Like the big takeaway with this Rainbow Six Siege one has been the conversation that because it's a cloud console, you can't have cheaters. Like that is something that has plagued console and PC gamers, but because these Stadia consoles in the cloud, it's extremely difficult to cheat on it because you can't create your own instance. And if you do, they're just going to cut you right out immediately. So you have all these Siege players that are like, dude, this is a cheater-free lobby. Let's just play here. And that's something that, like, if I was in charge of Stadia, I'm not, but I would grab that narrative and just run it as far as I can to be like, hey man, you tired of cheaters? Play on Stadia. Like, and that gives people reasons to try and check it out and be like, oh yeah, let me see what's going on here.
Try to translate that.
If I keep going, we're already going long. I don't think we're gonna be able to finish this podcast if I do that. But I really wanted to ask you a question because being that I live in Texas. Tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly of cloud gaming.
And the reason why we're asking you this is we actually have a segment on our podcast that is called the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you guys know this, but our review of Google Stadia is called "The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly." That's the best way to break it down. Is just be like, "Hey, man, there's good things, there's bad things, and then there's some ugly things that we need to talk about." Like, I think cloud gaming.
Plenty of the uglies in the launch.
Yeah. The good thing about cloud gaming is the thing that I come back to every time is the democratization. You know, not everybody has the ability to buy a $500 console or $1,000 PC. Now, because of cloud gaming, someone with a smartphone or someone with a Pixelbook or something small like that can now play next gen quality games without having to buy a console. I think that's probably the good. And I got to applaud Xbox on this. Is like they came out with something 2 weeks ago where they're like, hey man, if you own an Xbox One through xCloud, we're going to allow you to stream the new next gen games like Halo and Hellblade to your Xbox. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. I don't have to go buy a Series X now. Like I can just stream it to my console. The bad, this is probably the one that I come back to is just like, your experience is 100% dictated by how good your internet is. And that's something that whether it's some random guy in Podunk, Mississippi, or it's some reviewer in San Francisco who works for like Polygon or IGN, if you don't have a good internet connection, it's not going to work. But you have people like us who have decent internet connections and we're able to make it run. So you have on one side somebody being like, it doesn't work, and then we're like, no, it does. You have bad internet.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
for your particular situation.
Yeah, that's one thing that we always been saying over here. It all depends on your internet connection.
Yeah,
I wish somebody tried Stadia on Starlink.
There is a guy who did it. There is a guy who ran Stadia on Starlink and was playing Destiny 2, and it worked.
Wow.
He said when clouds popped over or when the satellite kind of got out of range, and I'm going off the top of my head at this point, but like there were sometimes he had lag, but when he had 100% connection through Starlink, he was able to play Stadia through Starlink. It was super impressive. Yeah.
Nice.
He posted a YouTube video about it. I highly recommend going to check it out.
My shirt just went down.
Yeah. And then the ugly, I think, is the toxicity between the communities. Like that's probably the thing that bothers me the most is just how the console wars try to bleed into cloud gaming, and cloud gaming is almost like this altruistic anti-console war beautiful thing that we have, because it doesn't matter where you play. Like if you have a cool Xbox game, all I have to do is install an app. Like that's where we're at. If you want to play on Stadia, all you have to do is install the Stadia app. It doesn't matter if you spent $500 on a console. And so like the ugly would definitely be the toxicity where people are like, oh, my cloud gaming platform is better. And it's like, in reality, all cloud gaming platforms have their negatives. And I think it's extremely apparent on what that is. xCloud struggles still to this date. GeForce Now, you pay for Pro, and then they're like, hey man, we need you to wait a little bit until we have a rig available for you. That's a huge negative for me. Stadia's big negative is the fact that the gaming library doesn't have, to this day, some of the big games that are all available on other platforms like Fortnite or Call of Duty or any of those. Amazon Luna is off doing whatever Amazon Luna is doing on their end of the internet as well, but you know they've got negatives.
Nobody knows what it is.
Yeah, I mean, every platform has its negatives, so it's like, why are you bringing the console war to this side? It doesn't make sense to me.
That's why I was going to ask you, do you believe there's a cloud gaming war?
Yes, but I choose to ignore it.
Best answer.
Yeah.
Answer. That's a PC answer.
Yeah. It's to the point where I'm like, man, and this is no offense. Well, someone will get offended by me saying this, but if you get to a point that your console is the ride or die thing in your life, and you're willing to be on Twitter spreading hate and going after people and just spewing nothing but toxicity, man, it's like, I feel bad for you. Like, go get some joy in your life. Like, life is too short to be on the internet saying that my console's better than the other guys. Like, please.
I always find so funny why people are following topics just to talk bad about them.
Yeah.
Like, why are you wasting your life doing that?
Yeah. Well, and
my wife, stuff you like.
My wife, to her credit, like said something to me recently. She's like, "Why are you letting it get to you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Just mute them." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a solid point. Like, I can just mute the person." Like, so the Google graveyard guy, if you're watching this, you've been muted. Don't worry.
There you go. Oh man, that I saw those exchanges in your Twitter account. So yeah. So, what's your favorite Stadia game if you have one?
I play a lot of PUBG.
PUBG?
Yeah, I play PUBG surprisingly. Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't know if it's because like I'm running it in the cloud and maybe I'm a little faster than everybody else, but I haven't lost yet. I haven't lost yet. Yeah, I'm like on PC, I'm terrible at PUBG, but PUBG on Stadia, I'm pretty good.
Are you using keyboard and mouse or controller?
So they don't allow keyboard and mouse.
Oh, they took that away?
There wasn't enough players playing on keyboard and mouse, so Bluehole got rid of it. So it's controller only at this point.
It's funny that you mentioned this game because we do have a follower that loves this game.
Yeah.
And he plays it on Xbox, doesn't want to play on Stadia, even though he has a Google TV with Stadia, and he doesn't want to play on Stadia.
Well, and what's funny is when it launched, I don't know if it's still the same way, but when it launched, they gave us really cool Stadia parachutes and Stadia frying pans.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I've never gotten rid of it. So it's like I still, when I drop into battle, it's like you see the gigantic Stadia logo coming down, and I'm just like, yeah.
And it's crossplay, right? You can play with other consoles. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. The other one, I mean, I try to play every game as it launches, but some of them just aren't for me. Like I just beat Resident Evil. That was a fun time on the console. I'm hoping to see some more horror games come. I know we got Darkwood coming, but any horror game that launches, I will immediately pick it up.
Man, you're the complete opposite of me. I'm not touching those with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
No, he gets scared. He gets scared of those games.
Yeah, man, I can't handle that. I want to sleep. I want to sleep at night. Us actually are more the Ubisoft games. We're really big on Division.
Yeah,
I'm still bitter that they haven't brought Division 1 and it's in Amazon Luna, so I still don't get it. But we've been hitting really hard Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Oh yeah.
Like Javier's becoming an expert. He's playing more than me now. Yeah, so
because the funny thing is when I play, I always call Will because I don't want to play by myself. But I don't know what this game has that I say, screw it, I'm playing by myself. And I've been playing like crazy to the point that Will was ahead of me on the levels.
He passed me already. Like he's
done. One day I doubled the side of levels that I did.
Yeah.
So, but now another game that I noticed that you like from Stadia is Crata. That's how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Crata. Yeah.
And you even created a game inside that game called The Floor is Lava, which is a very common game over here in the United States for kids. But not a video game, a physical game. How was that experience? Are you considering making more or going to the world developing?
Oh, sorry, guys, my camera just went out. Hold on, I'll try to get it to pop up.
But we can hear you.
Became an avatar.
Yeah. It's all shrouded in mystery at this point now. No, yeah, the Crata thing, I deeply adore that game. Okay. I deeply adore Crata. I think that it is a game that did not get the press or the coverage or the support that it deserved. For those who are not aware, Crata is this game where you can create video games inside of a video game. Yeah. And what's really unique is like you go in there and they're like, hey man, we've got templates. So like you can create like a Call of Duty gun game, you can create a racing game, you can create a puzzle, and they've got all the coding handled for you. All you have to do is put the window dressings and decorate it. So they have like things you can make a street, you can make a building, you can put lava, you can put, tables, and it just comes down to almost like The Sims where you're placing stuff. And the first game I created was called Trench Warfare, and it was like a World War II like trench warfare shooter game.
Wow.
And then I created The Floor is Lava, and that got unbelievable legs. And
I almost started hate tweeting you for that game, because the first level took me a good couple of tries, to really understand. I needed to get on top of the bookcases. And get to that part.
Yeah. The one of the things that really inspires me about Creta, and this kind of answers your question about making games, is that growing up as a gamer, if we live in this really cool era where you can watch a YouTube video, and through Creta you can put a link in the description and go play that game. That still to this day blows my mind. And I think that if you would go back and tell 9-year-old Bryant that it's like, hey man, you want to go explore the world of Star Fox, or you want to go explore the world of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Super Mario or whatever I was doing, and go live that world, that is a insane concept. So like, yeah, I do like the idea of going back and creating games, but I think what I might use Creta as differently is like start a different YouTube channel and create like a Creta cartoon series where you create these worlds and you tell stories and you get voice acting and you film it like that. And then you tell the audience of kids that you're like, hey, you like the concept, or you like this world, you want to go explore it, click this link, and you can be immediately transported into that world.
Amen.
We just witnessed how he created a new YouTube channel.
Right. We just saw the birth of a new concept.
Yeah. Copyright, trademark, everything.
It is. And if you need a Spanish voice actor, I can get paid in Cheetos, so I'm good.
What's funny is like I've already done this, and this was kind of helped with the popularity of The Floor is Lava, was that we created a Floor is Lava game show where we would have 3 contestants run it, and we would, voice it and kind of do it like, oh, he's jumping from brick to brick and jumping here to left and right, and they fell in the lava.
Like Wipeout.
Yeah, like Wipeout. Yeah. And then at the end of the episode, we'd have a call to action and be like, do you think you can beat this week's time? Send us a video of you playing it, and we'll include it in next week's episode.
You haven't seen Wipeout?
Who, me?
Yeah. No. What I was gonna say is
your face, and I was like,
no. What I was gonna say, isn't this a show already on Netflix?
Yeah. Netflix has theirs. Yeah, they stole my idea.
Oh, okay.
Netflix, you bastard!
I want my check.
That was why with my face, I go like, hold on, are you producing this show?
Yeah. No, so we created an animated version of that show, and then within the description of the video, you can jump in. And then when we created the other game called Free Climb, which is like this mountain climbing snow game, we created a trailer for that, and that's where I got the bug of being like, okay, you could create some really cool worlds and tell stories inside of this game. And then when we did the Contact Alien Invasion game, we created like this little trailer about like aliens attacking a city, and you have to go rescue and blow up the aliens. And we did the same thing there.
Didn't you do a game in Creator called The Summit or something like that?
Yeah. That's Free Climb. Yeah. So
Free Climb. Okay.
Free Climb is where you got to climb to the summit of the mountain. And it's a platform that is so unique, and it has so much potential for what you can do, not just in like a machinima sense, like I'm talking about, but also like in a game creation sense. There are people in there who've created things. I'm like, man, I don't even know where to begin with that. And I've become pretty close with some of the people on the team over at Unit 2. And now that they're part of the Facebook family, I'm super proud of them, excited for them.
Yeah, they got bought out recently, right?
Yeah, and one of the things they were talking about was that like they want to use Creta to help people on Facebook become video game developers. And I think that that's such a cool idea, that somebody using a Facebook account can have access to this game, create a game, and then make money on it. Like that's such a cool concept to me.
So you're going to be a micro developer? I think you are right now if you count Creator. Yeah.
I think that like I respect video game developers too much to call myself a developer. But like when you look at the worlds I've created and stuff like that, like there's definitely, I can say that I've made a video game, but I also kind of stood on the backs of giants to do it. Like there were people who helped me because they already coded the racing mechanic, right, or they already coded that stuff. So I think that my whole thing is like, yeah, if I had suddenly came up with more time, I would definitely pursue that second YouTube channel and create that the create a cinematic universe or whatever that's called on that end.
Nice.
Awesome.
Now, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but before I go, I want to ask you where we can find your content.
Yeah, of course. You can find me over on YouTube at the Nerf Report. We post episodes twice a day. We have a morning show and an afternoon show. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Bryant Chappel or at the Nerf Report on Twitter. And then any other platform, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Google Plus. I don't know if that's still a thing, but sure, yeah. And just search for us, and you'll be able to find us.
I think they shut down Google Plus sometime.
Okay, don't go there. Don't
go there.
You forgot MySpace.
Yeah. We got the greatest MySpace wall ever. It's fantastic.
You're gonna get that the Google Graveyard guy talking again if you mention Google Plus.
Yep.
And our final question is, if you could bring one game to cloud gaming, especially Stadia, which would it be?
Oh, I like that question.
Okay,
just one.
Yeah, that's where it gets tough. And so I know this is going to be go ahead.
It could either be an old one or a new one, or
yeah,
you can alienate all the people in your channel if you say it the wrong way.
This is gonna make people mad because they're gonna be like, why didn't you say this? But this is me being extremely selfish. Rampage was one of my favorite games growing up, and I played it at an arcade recently, and I was like, man, this game still has legs. And if they were to bring Rampage 64, or if they were to just to remake Rampage somehow and bring it
with the Rock on it.
No. I hate Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, he ruined that game. He ruined that game for me. But no, Rampage would be the game I'd bring back because I have so many great memories of playing it as a kid.
So would you bring it in as more of the arcadey part of it?
I don't know. Like, I loved World Tour. Like, right. World Tour was great, and I felt like it ran better. But yeah, actually, I would want a modern remake. Like, bring me a modern remake of Rampage.
Everything updated.
Yep, yeah, and you think about the physics engines that we have today. Like,
that game would be awesome for that.
Yeah. Well, you still want it on 16 bits, or
nah? Give me 4K.
That's what he's saying.
Second,
you gotta do he has a voice in his channel where he says 4K 60.
Yeah, like
that's all he wants.
give it to EA so they can use that cool Frostbite engine where like they can destroy buildings and stuff like that. Like, let's do it.
Great. Well, I have extremely enjoyed our 1 hour here of talking with Bryant. Of course, we wish you blessings and all the success in the world. I would ride your coattails any day. But also, I really wish you a lot of success is I know you're going to be a great dad.
Thank you.
I know you're going to give that kid a controller when I don't think they're going to be one and they're going to be talking controllers. So
didn't you do that already with your daughter?
No, man, my daughter, she's learning little by little. She's learning little by little. She plays, Daddy, can you put floors lava? I told you that off the air. And it was like, she enjoys it. And the best part that she enjoys is when I die. So that's the best part for her. But no, in all seriousness, all success. And, I honestly can say I am part of your best friends.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
That. So if you want to be part of his best friends, you're going to enjoy a lot of other content. I know he's going to do a lot more things in there for the fans. So please subscribe and enjoy.
Actually, Brian, why don't you explain those best friend things that you do at the
so the Nerf Report Best Friends is just kind of an answer that we had to, like, people were like, hey man, we really like the show, we want to help you financially, because YouTube's kind of weird when it comes to donating money. It's not like Twitch where you can put bits or you can do anything like that. For they've got that stuff on the live streaming side, but they don't have it for the VOD or video on demand content. So we created the Nerf Report Best Friends for those people who wanted to help us grow the channel. Completely not necessary. Like, it still blows my mind that people, financially support the channel. So we try to do things at least once or twice a year as like a thank you to that. Like recently, hold on, I have one right here. Give me one sec.
I love this.
Great radio. Yeah, just me walking away from the mic. We printed these like "Are you listening?" stickers, and we mailed them out with a thank you letter to all the people. And I have an idea of another one that we're wanting to do, because like us customizing a Stadia controller with one of our most popular videos. So it's like, well, let's make a Nerf Report themed controller.
Man, you don't happen to have that with you? Oh, he does. I love it. The way he did it. Look at that.
Yeah, right here. Perfect segue. So when I have some free time in the next month, probably when my baby's here, my goal is to create like a Nerf Report themed controller, and for the Nerf Report Best Friends, offer it as a raffle to be like, hey, you can win this, or you guys, and it's stuff like that. And I hate being the guy to be like, I'm charging for content. I've never been a fan of that, to be like, if you pay this money, you're going to get our videos. I understand that's how 99% of the industry works, and eventually we'll have to have some type of strategy like that. But it feels weird for me to be like, you need to pay to get access to these videos. It's
I'm good with the stickers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, the thing that kind of bothers me when, like, in this, it's just going on a tangent, but it's like when people require you to pay for content, I immediately go like, well, what about the people that are there day and date, the first view, or that first like, that can't financially support your channel, but they support you in other ways? And I don't want to jeopardize that person just as much as I don't want to jeopardize the person that's willing to give us money. So it's like, you really got to come up with that good balance of like, what can we do to make sure that the Nerf Report Best Friends feel like they're still helping? Which, if you are a Nerf Report Best Friend, hey, you helped us get to Hawaii, so thank you. But at the same sense, it's like there's also like, how can we give back?
I can give you my reasoning. My reasoning is, I love your content. I enjoy it. I actually, take those 5-minute videos that you do and enjoy that part. It's a quick thing. Actually, I love that about your channel, that I can just get to the meat and potatoes of it and just move on, right? And for me, was what I wish for you is someday, if this is your goal, to make YouTube your full-time job and be able to have a lot of ideas, but not the means or the time to put into that. So if you can get to that point, I know we're going to see great content out of you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your confidence in me, and I appreciate your support as being a best friend. And like, there's, I don't know if you guys know, I think everybody knows him, but Dr. Disrespect has that quote where he's like, it may seem like the top of the mountain, but we're just getting started. And it's like, that's kind of what I always kind of keep in mind. Just like, the Nerf Report now, I have plans for like, let's bring on other people. Let's bring on, other hosts. Let's try to get into different verticals of gaming. Can we do esports? Can we create gaming themed shows? Like, I have ideas for, television centric shows, but are gamer focused. And it's like, what type of content can we create that's unique, entertaining? And eventually the long-term goal is go full time, be able to do it. But everything on YouTube is a snowball, man. You got to start small and push and get big and big and big, and we're on our way. So I appreciate that.
I don't know, but I heard him asking us to do the Spanish version. That's what I heard.
Yeah. I mean, well, guys, we talked about it off stream, but
are we going to be a Nerf Report show? A Nerf Report show?
I think the Spanish market is an extremely untapped market, especially not even just Mexico, but here in the United States. You look at how many people speak English but don't speak it as their primary language, and it's like, man, that's a huge untapped market, especially, and that's part of the reason why I'm trying to learn Spanish. Estoy estudiando español, or mi nombre es Bryant y trabajo para el Nerf Report.
There's no way of translating.
Yeah. And like I said, it's an English episode. Reporte de Nerf. Yeah.
You go.
It's funny. Google Translate when I started the show was like El Informe Nerf, and I was like,
no.
No. Yeah.
Remember, there's a bunch of dialects. Because we have our own. In Puerto Rico, we talk a lot of Spanglish. So it's a combination of both. But you're becoming an honorary Puerto Rican as we sit here, because we have done like 2 goodbyes and we still have not finished the show. And that is how normal
that is
Puerto
very
Ricans
typical.
would do it. Very typical, man.
Of Puerto Ricans.
We would say goodbye like inside of the house. We would say goodbye in front of the house. We would say goodbye when we get into the car, and we're still talking the whole time.
Well, I appreciate that.
We keep walking from. Let's say that they're visiting your house. We start on the sofa. We start walking to the door, the car, and we never stop talking. We keep saying goodbye.
So you're becoming an honorary Puerto Rican.
Have to push the person to the car and let him go.
Yeah.
But before we go, I also would like to tell everyone they can visit us on the Gaming Arena Pod on Instagram, Facebook, over here on Twitter, and YouTube. And I don't want to go before Willie tells us every wonderful word that he said at the end of the podcast.
Actually, Brian, if you can read what it says right back here, it'll be appreciated.
The future is in the cloud.
Game over.